Welcome to Season 3 of Digging Deep with Dr. Christie K. Thank you so much for being here and for choosing to spend a few moments of your day with me. These shows this season were thoughtfully curated with you in mind to inspire, challenge, encourage, and invite meaningful reflection around life, leadership, purpose, faith, and legacy. As you listen, I invite you to lean in. Take what speaks to you and allow the conversation to meet you right where you are. If today's episode resonates, please take a moment to like, share, and even subscribe. Your support helps these conversations reach others who may need them just as much. Now, let's dig deep together. Today on Digging Deep, we're talking about wellness beyond trends, wellness as a way of living, loving, and preparing for every season of life. I'm joined by Dalya Hartford, a caterer, wellness advocate, mother, and caregiver whose work in the kitchen has evolved into something much deeper, a calling rooted in nourishment, presence, and purpose. Dalya reminds us that food isn't just about what's on the plate. It's about how we care for others, ourselves, while caring for the world. It's about slowing down in a world that rushes. It's about honoring our bodies as we move through motherhood, entrepreneurship, caretaking, and into seasons where legacy and longevity matter more than hustle. This conversation is for anyone who's tired, thoughtful, reflective, or standing at the edge of a new chapter, wondering how to live well now so you can live fully later. Let's dig deep into wellness that sustains us, mind, body, and spirit. Welcome to the show, Dalya.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, I am happy to have you here. You know, when we were talking about the content that's important to our platform with Digging Deep with Dr. Christie K, you were one of the first people that I thought about because you are not just someone who cares for yourself and for your family. You have always cared for others. You've always shown up for others, even during your time at Southwest Airlines, when you would post different stories about different occurrences while you were on the job. Just the empathy and compassion that you showed people who really didn't deserve it because of their behavior. I was like, she really is someone that cares about people. So I want to thank you for always making sure that God's people are taken care of in whatever capacity that you've served.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you for seeing me. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Tell me, how has life been, post-retirement? And the reason why I'm so fascinated, because you are relatively young to be in full retirement. And you've been retired for how long?
I'll be retired 3 years in October of next year. So I just hit 2 years. I retired. What is this? No, we're in 25. So I just hit 3 years in October.
Okay.
So next year will be 4. Yeah. I retired in 22.
That's amazing.
And I'll be 60 next April. So
You'll be 60. So you retired at 57.
7. Mm-hmm.
So 57, you're retired. You basically worked your entire adult life for the most part. Yep. Tell me, how was that transition from having to work every day into retirement, but still being considered a very young person?
Yeah. I get that question a lot. When I tell people that I'm retired, they're like, what? You don't look retirement age. And retirement age is, for me, an age where you realize that, first of all, you've done all you can do on the job that you're on. It's just time to pivot. So for me, it was just making the decision to pivot. I'd been there 33 years. And yes, all of my adult life, I started when I was 22.
Wow.
I had just turned 22. I think I was in training class when I turned 22. And so it was just time. I had been in the customer service. I'd been in different positions at Southwest Airlines, but always customer service. So I was at the call center, and then on the ground in ground operations. But I just realized at 33 years, it was time for me to pivot.
Wow.
I'd worked in the DC area during the insurrection. And that was probably the hardest 3 weeks of my entire 33 years, right? So after that, I just decided, yeah, it's time.
It's time.
It's time. Yeah.
And there is power in being able to say it's time. Because there are some people who may not have been mentally, emotionally, or financially ready to say, I've had enough, I'm out of here. So have you been able to reflect on how much of a blessing it was and continues to be that you're able to step away from a job when some people are there literally until they die or get sick because they have not prepared for being able to leave?
Right. I absolutely consider it a blessing to be able to leave a job at that age. It wasn't something that I planned years ago, but I was planning years ago. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Financially, I was in a position where I could do it. And my daughter had graduated high school, and she's adulting. So, I worked her entire life, of course. And then, so for me, it was definitely a time where I was like, I just laid it out. I was like, if I stayed 3 or 4 more years, would it make a difference financially? No. I sat there and calculated, in 3 or 4 years, would I be more financially able to leave this job than I would if I left today? And not really. It would not have made that much of a difference. So I was looking forward to the freedom, the flexibility of, living my life outside of a corporate job. And so that's what I did. And yeah, it's been an absolute blessing. I don't regret it at all.
I feel in my spirit right now that there's someone listening that's been on their job for 20, 30, 40 years and like, if she can do it, I can do it too. And the important thing that you said amongst all the other things is that you reflected, and I would only assume that you had a conversation with HR about what it looks like leaving now versus later.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And the reason
with
why
HR, with HR, and then we had financial consultants also that were available to us on our jobs as well. So after those conversations, I was like, it wouldn't make much of a difference if I left now or if I did 5 more years, or 10 more years.
Right.
So yeah.
And the reason why I paused to have this conversation is because I've been in the industry 28 years, and funeral service industry 28 years, almost 10 years in ownership. And I would say over this span of 28 years, I've had 3 instances where I've had a spouse sitting in front of me crying because their loved one worked and worked and worked in order to be able to save and prepare for retirement. And their loved one passed within 6 months to a year of retirement. And I actually had one person, their spouse passed a week after they retired.
Wow.
And the tears were not just because their loved one had passed. The tears were mostly because their loved one put their lives on hold, their marriage, time with their children on hold to save for retirement so that they can live their lives after they were done working, only to have all of this accrued PTO, all of this money that they cannot share with the person that passed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and you know what? My dad worked 55 years on his job.
Wow.
And he became ill with COVID in 2020 and passed away a month after they had recognized him. Not even a month. It was less than 30 days after they had recognized him for being on his job for 55 years. And so he did that same thing, saved for his retirement and worked right up until, he couldn't.
Mm.
And so, yeah, it's, I didn't want to be that person. I really didn't want to be that person. I'm young enough. I'm active enough. I have lifetime flight benefits. So I didn't want to be that person. I wanted to be young enough to still enjoy my life, be able to travel, have the flexibility of doing my business that I started while I was working at Southwest Airlines, and so that's where I am today. So my heart goes out to those individuals who wait until they actually can no longer work, before they retire, or they're not healthy enough, they're not in shape, they haven't taken care of themselves, and we'll get to that conversation, so that they can enjoy that time off when they decide to retire.
Yes, and transitioning to what you're doing now has me so excited. I remember when you started talking about retirement and having the conversation of, okay, what am I going to do once I'm retired? And you started your catering business. So tell me about, how was it still working and starting the dream that you had been thinking about while you were at Southwest? Tell me how that transition occurred.
So I actually, even when I lived in Houston, so I lived in Houston and I moved to Virginia in 2012. But prior to that, I would always like make chicken salad. I had one of my, and I still to this day, I just took him some chicken salad last week. He lives not far from me, but he would literally bring some chicken, all the ingredients, and sit them on my desk and work and say, hook this up for me. So prior to even starting the catering business, I was cooking every now and then for people. They would ask me to make, different things. And so when I went to Virginia, we would have meetings, gatherings, and they would always ask me, do you mind cooking for our meeting? And so I would do that. So that kind of started. I've always loved to cook. My grandmother, my great grandmother was an excellent cook. My grandmother was an excellent cook. My mom is a great cook. So I've always been in the kitchen, always loved cooking, and always loved to see people enjoy what I've created, right? So when I got to Virginia, we would have different meetings and outings, and I would cater those. And so in 2020, when COVID hit, there was a need for, when kids were at home from school, they couldn't go to school. So I did lunches for children who were home from school and their parents were working. I did family meal bundles because, restaurants were closed. So I would prepare family meal bundles and take orders that way. And so that's kind of how the business started. Actually, during COVID, I started it in October of 2020.
That is amazing. I love stories about how people were able to pivot. And even through your grief, because you said your dad passed during COVID, you were still able to serve God's people. And I commend you. That is amazing.
Yeah, it's so much fun. It's still a lot of fun. And I still to this day, I cook for people. Like I do meal prep, a little bit of meal prep. I have a client right now that I'm cooking for who has renal failure. And so I do different, if people have different restrictions where he can't do salt. So I cook for him during the week. Then I have other people, like my goddaughter is sick right now. She had surgery. Probably cook some meals for her this week. But those are the things I really love to do, is cooking for people who have restrictions or are homesick, or elderly people. I have people who call me who live out of town, but their family member lives here and they've had surgery and they need some meals for a week. So that's the kind of stuff I really love to do, more than the bigger events, the smaller, intimate people like that to cook for.
Okay. Well, Dalya, food has been central to your work, but at what point did you realize that this wasn't just about cooking, it was a calling and a purpose?
I don't know if I'd really consider it a calling, but I definitely consider it purposeful.
Okay.
Preparing a meal for someone is a powerful, heartfelt way of making them feel seen, showing affection and care, and creating a sense of connection. I think that's what food is mostly. And so, not necessarily for me a calling, but the purpose behind me cooking is what I feel is my purpose and my, you can call it a calling, but I don't necessarily call it a calling. I call it my purpose, and being purposeful and intentional when I'm cooking for people.
Okay. Now, you serve people at different life stages. How has your relationship with food changed how you've navigated motherhood, caretaking, and even thinking about longevity?
Well, I started my catering business a couple of years after I became an empty nester, right? So I think I've always thought about cooking as a way. I've always been health conscious. So when you think of longevity and the future, I've always said, I need to eat this way, make these choices, so that in the future I can live a long, independent life. Mm-hmm. And I've taught my daughter that. My daughter is a pretty good cook, and she cooks as well. And we both are always thinking of conscious ways of eating. Mm-hmm. And so my relationship with food has become an opportunity also for me to just slow down and notice what I'm feeding my body.
Got it. Okay. Now, many women pour into everyone else first. How do you personally nourish yourself while caring for your family, clients, and the community?
Nourishing myself starts with prayer in the mornings, meditation, breath work, stillness, long baths, walks with my dog. All of those things are things that I incorporate daily to nourish myself. I think it's very important to first pay attention to yourself and get what you need so that you'll be able to pour into others. And so I do that through prayer and meditation in the morning. I literally have a yoga mat right on the side of my bed because when I get up in the morning, I sit on the mat and be still, and I meditate and I pray, and that's how I start my day. So I think that's important, to be still and to spend time with yourself, and long baths do that for me. Also in walking my dog.
Okay. I'm 47, and I think my first rejuvenating bath was a year and a half ago.
Really?
I'd always heard about people I'm taking long baths and all things, and I'm like, you're sitting in water. I've never been the fan of things like that because of what I've seen on crime scenes and things like that earlier in my career.
Yeah.
But then one day I came home, I was super tired, and I was like, Lord, what can I do to just calm my body, relax my body? And it came to me, jump in the tub. I put some Epsom salt in there because I didn't want to do bubble baths and all that. I put Epsom salt, a little apple cider vinegar in there, and when I tell you, I came out brand new.
Yes.
I felt amazing.
Yes. Yeah, so I was a shower girl. I mean, I took showers all the time until I got to the point to where, and it started before I retired. If I need to steal away, and just be still and just get rejuvenated, that is the thing for me, is a long bath, yes, with Epsom salt and crystals and all kinds of stuff in my water, and a glass of wine, or sometimes I get some coffee. If it's in the morning, I even take baths in the morning now. Sometimes after I work out, I'll take a long bath. So, it's so rejuvenating. It feels so good.
Some people listening may be like, I have little kids, or I have a spouse that will not give me some free time. And I know you have kids in the home. I know you have, spouse and everything. Give us tips. I'm saying us. Give us tips on how to create that boundary so that those around us know that we need that time alone, but they don't feel slighted or they don't feel any aspects of being unloved or emotionally absent from us during that time.
Yeah, I think it's a known fact in my house that when my door, like I have two doors in my room, like a door to my room, and then there's a door to the bathroom.
Okay.
If both of those doors are closed, then I'm off limits. Sometimes I just close the door to my room, the door to the bathroom, and leave the door open. You can come in my room, right? But you just have to, and then sometimes you just have to give them something to do. Make a good meal, or give them, like I do have littles in my home. We have a 5 and a 6-year-old that we're raising. That's a story for another day, but they know when the doors are closed, then I'm off limits. But I usually have to give them something to do, so that they will know that that's my time. But yeah, my time is my time. When those doors are closed, that's it.
That's it.
It is over.
I know my mom, when we were growing up, she would light a candle. Mm-hmm. Or she'd have on a certain meditation. If we heard that meditation or saw that candle, she taught us to think to ourselves, Mommy needs some time.
Yeah.
Because I have some people that I know whose mother or father would take their time in their man cave or in their rooms or what have you, and they would just feel alienated because they're like, don't come to my door, don't say anything, and they didn't know why. So I thank God that you are letting your babies know, and I let Kennedy know, listen, I love you, but I love me. Both things are true. The way I show myself that I love me is that this is my space. So much so, Kennedy now, when I call her name and she doesn't answer, and I can look and see that the door is closed, she knows that door is only closed when she needs some quiet time. Now, this is in her adult life now. As a child, there were no closed doors in my house.
Right.
But
we don't close doors around here.
We don't close doors as children, but now that she's an adult, but she knows that I respect that. And then when she comes out of her meditation or have you, she opens the door and then I come in, but I've learned to respect that boundary just like she respected it when she was a child.
Yes, absolutely. That's great.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, those dynamics really change when they become adults.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Dalya, as people approach new seasons, whether retirement, reinvention, or simply slowing down, how does what we eat impact how we feel about ourselves and our future?
That's a great question. I don't think we really consider how what we eat impacts our future. I don't think we really think about that often enough. But the habits that we have as it relates to food directly impacts the days that we have left to live. Mm-hmm. It impacts those days. I was thinking when we were talking about, we were going to talk about caregiving. And as I care for my mom, she had a health challenge last year. And we talked a lot about nutrition and how that affects her day-to-day life and how long she has left from here. My mom just turned 80 in July. But we have really good genes in our family. Like my mom's mom and her siblings, they all live past their 80s and into their 90s. And even my grandmother's youngest sister lived to 103, you know that?
Yes.
And so we live a long time. So we have to be conscious of what we put in our bodies. Even if it's late, it's never too late to start eating well and living well. So yeah, we have to, I don't think we think enough about that, how we eat affects our future. But it definitely does.
And with that as well, there's also emotional connection. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, emotional connection between food, comfort, and how we cope with stress, grief, and exhaustion. And then I'll say for me, I did an interview about 3 years ago, right after I was diagnosed with diabetes. And the person asked me, you seem to be relatively healthy before the diabetes diagnosis. Why do you think you developed it? And I was like, it was because of the success of my business. And he was like, what? What does that mean? Owning a funeral home, a successful funeral home, means I deal with a lot of grief. And I took on way too much, and I wasn't allowing my staff to serve in the capacity that I hired them to do so. And so I found myself feeding myself to sleep so that I can be ready for the next day. And then waking up and feeding myself to be alert to serve the next family. And so that was how I was coping with that. I was going through a divorce. Kennedy was getting older. And all of those emotional things was causing me to have a downward spiral to now where I have to give myself insulin. It's definitely not, it's not very much insulin, but I went from no insulin to having to provide insulin to myself before I eat, daily. And that was because I was not coping properly, and I had I didn't have the best relationship with food. Do you see that with the clients? And when they come to you, how do you help them get past that?
How do I help them get past the emotional connection?
Yes.
I'm not sure if I really help them. I can speak for me.
Okay.
I can speak for me. So I'm an emotional eater. So from personal experience, I can tell you that there's a huge connection between food and how we navigate stress, grief, exhaustion, and even change. Just changes in our day-to-day. Like I mentioned, my grandmother passed away in 2012, a day after her 95th birthday. And I mentioned her age because she lived a full life beyond the years, that were promised to her. But it was hard for me, and it's still hard. I think when I think about, I'll literally be cooking like a peach cobbler, and I make that a lot for people. And I promise you, every single time I'm cooking a peach cobbler, I think of my grandmother, and I get teary-eyed. I get teary-eyed now. I get teary-eyed. So grief, emotional, being an emotional eater, and there is definitely an emotional connection to food and comfort and grief. I mentioned also that my dad, since my grandmother's death, I lost my dad to COVID in November. I lost a pet, in March following when my dad died. Then in 2023, my best friend of almost 40 years passed away. 3 months after that, my sister-in-law passed away. So I have, in the last 3 or 4 years, gained weight eating, just emotionally.
Yeah.
So there is definitely a connection. I think when I talk to clients, I do have had several clients that have been going through the grief process, and emotional eating has been their thing too. So for me, I think what I have to realize is that I don't want to die before my time.
Yeah.
And food can do that to you. Just like, your instance that you had with the diabetes. So I'm super conscious of what I eat, and when I eat, and why I eat. And I think that those are some of the things that we need to bring to the forefront when we're thinking about grief and being comforted. There are so many other ways that I find comfort now in working out.
Okay.
And I know that instead of eating a meal, I'll go and stretch or work out. And so those things have become alternatives for me as opposed to the emotional eating.
I love that. I actually find comfort now in exercise. I'm like, I'm hungry, and I'll stop and listen, first of all, are you hungry? Or are you just thirsty and your body needs to move? And so I will drink water and I'll do stretching. And once I'm done with that, the hunger that's there is not so much. So instead of me eating a full meal, I'll make, some avocado, boiled egg or something like that instead of eating a full meal. So yes, absolutely. Exercise and hydration is a key to maintaining a healthy glucose level and your weight. And I feel emotionally more stable when I exercise more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I can say it can be tiring. I heard someone call what we have going on right now on social media with all these recipes, the cottage cheese on everything and spinach and all that. They call this is the wellness culture. Mm-hmm. And it often feels extreme or intimidating, which is why I love how easy you make the meal prep, because I've had your meal prep. The food is amazing every single day. And with the wellness culture, and if people that are scrolling on social media, they're saving all these recipes, and you sit there and you're like, I feel overwhelmed. Let me just get a cheeseburger. It's faster to go get a cheeseburger than to make, a hamburger at home or to make a chicken burger, But can you help the listeners with some simple, sustainable practices to help build a healthier life without guilt or perfection?
Yeah. Planning is key. And I know that's kind of difficult because we have so much going on. But I find that at the beginning of the week, whether it be a Saturday or Sunday before the Monday comes, do your grocery shopping, do your meal planning, because if you don't plan, you're going to fail. It's just not going to work. You're going to be on the go. You don't have your snacks with you. You don't have your meals planned out. So you're going to make not so good choices when it comes to food. And the way to make it sustainable is to understand that there is a lot of flexibility in making healthy choices. There really is. You just have to make up your mind to do it. Right. And then every now and then, if you want Cane's or you want to stop and get a hamburger, you can do that, but do it in moderation. Yeah. It doesn't have to be like I used to eat out a lot. I did until a few months ago. I made up my mind. This is it. I've got to get back on track, and so I make sure that I go to the grocery store. I'm gonna not necessarily. I like my food fresh, so I don't really meal prep like for the whole week. I'll just at night. I'll get out, whatever I'm going to cook the next morning, and then prep it, or cook it. I'm retired, so I can get up and make my meals that day. Some people will have to make it, for the whole week or for 2 or 3 days, and that's fine. But I have the flexibility of being able to do it in the mornings. So the main thing is to plan ahead. Prep your meals or your grocery store shopping on the weekends, so that when money, and snacks are real easy to do. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can get containers for snacks and make out your snacks, and so that you can just pull them out the refrigerator and go. Meals, not so much. You have to be really intentional when it comes to meals. Mm-hmm. But you can make those healthy choices. You can go to the grocery store, prep that stuff on the weekends for 2 or 3 days, and then on Wednesday do it again for the rest of the week. But it just takes planning and it takes discipline. But there is a lot of flexibility though when it comes to meal prepping, and it's not as expensive as eating out.
It really is not. Meal prepping is not expensive.
It's not expensive, and just focus when you go in the grocery store. The outer circumference of the store is where the healthy stuff is. All the unhealthy stuff is in the middle. So,
in the middle.
All your produce and dairy and all that stuff is on the outside. You notice that. And then on the inside. So start on the outside of the grocery store and work your way in for some of those other things that you like to eat. Yes,
you just have to set the intention that this is what you're going to do. Yes. And you have 2 choices. You can save the money now and spend it for prescriptions later. Mm-hmm. Or spend the money now and save on prescriptions later. You're gonna spend the money on either side. Either way, you're gonna spend it. And it just takes a made up mind. It's just a mindset. I'm telling you, because like I said, I used to eat out all the time, and I had to make a decision. Look, I'm going in the wrong direction.
I want to be as independent as I have one child, and I want to be as independent as possible the older I get. So in order to do that, I have to make better choices, and I can start now.
Absolutely. Dalya, what has entrepreneurship taught you about listening to your body, especially when it says rest, slow down, or change direction?
I think it's taught me that, yes, I have clients, but I come first. And in order to be able to serve them in excellence like you do, I have to take care of myself, and I have to slow down, and I have to begin my mornings like I talked about earlier.
Yes.
And that's a non-negotiable. It really is. Slowing down, stillness, meditation, the long baths, all of that. Those are non-negotiables in order for me to sustain my business and to sustain my health. So that in the future, like I said, I could be as independent as possible. That's totally my goal.
Yeah.
Is to be independent.
That's
the older I get.
Yeah, and I read somewhere where someone said there's no award for the hardest worker.
It's not.
There's no reward. Like the hardest working Christian and the person that took their time and took care of themselves, who's a Christian, are both going to be at the gates. Mm-hmm. Sitting at the feet of Jesus. Like,
yeah.
One's going to get there maybe faster than the other because of your lifestyle. Yeah. But when I realized that me going 12, 13 hours a day, and sometimes I do have those days, but I have less of those days than days where I have like 2 or 3 hours of intense work. Once I realized that life still goes on, family still can be served in excellence, and the people that I'm trying to run around and serve in my family and my friends and seeing everybody and being everywhere, they're gonna move forward whether I'm there or not.
Listen, and so I'm glad you're bringing that up. I worked for Southwest Airlines for 33 years. I took a leave of absence prior to my retirement for a year and a half. I want you to know, it wasn't even a month I was on leave. I was replaced.
Yeah.
Life went on. They didn't know that I wasn't coming back. I didn't even know I wasn't going to go back at first, initially. But life does go on.
Yes.
Right. So you can work your tail off, and think that if you don't do it, it won't get done, or it won't get done right. But delegation.
Yes.
You've got to delegate, because it's not all about you, and you're going to work yourself to the grave quicker, thinking that you have to have your hand in every single thing, and you have to be there for every single thing. So I'm glad you brought that up. But yeah, you will be replaced very quickly. So you've got to take care of yourself,
right,
and not run yourself around.
And there's nothing wrong with being replaced. People, yeah, when I've talked to people on this podcast or just being out and about, well, I feel bad if they can replace me. That's what they're supposed to do.
Right.
You're supposed to be replaceable. Now, they can say she was the best at her job, but all they're going to do is train someone to be just as good or better than you. Mm-hmm. So do your best. Okay. Yeah, do your best while you're doing it.
I'm happy for them.
Listen, Southwest has carried on, and so has Dalya.
Yes.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I love it. I love to see it. I mean, of course I have a whole bunch of friends that still work for Southwest. We still talk. We still get together every now and then. I love it for them. Yeah. I think it's great. The season that I was there was my season. Mm-hmm. And when my season was up, I was out. So, I mean, but there were days, that I was there, 16, 17, 18 hours, when I was raising my child. And I think about that time now. And if I had any regrets, that's probably only one of them, is that I worked so much when she was younger, that I didn't spend a whole lot of time with her. She, tells me, Mom, I'm turned out okay. I'm fine. But I look back at it and I wish I hadn't worked so much when she was younger. But, do what you got to do.
I love how parallel our motherhood stories are. I've had the same conversation with Kennedy, like, honey, I sincerely apologize for working so much. My goal was to be able to provide for you. However, in hindsight, since I know that God, will provide everything that we need, I did not have to be sitting behind the desk 13, 14 hours. I didn't have to leave the dinner table on Thanksgiving to meet with the family because their loved one passed. I could have asked them. Sometimes I didn't even ask them, do you mind if we meet tomorrow? Because I was so nervous about losing that family.
Yes.
However, my work, my team's work speaks for itself. And so now, when we've gotten death calls on Thanksgiving, we've had major holidays, I've been out of town. I said, listen, we will meet you today on a holiday if you absolutely need us to. However, my ask is for you to allow us to meet with you in the morning. We can start the paperwork now. Let's meet you in the morning. And their answer is,
they're fine with that.
Absolutely no problem. But if we don't ask, they're on their way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. As you think
that
about,
takes a lot of courage to do that. So
yeah,
I applaud you. Yeah, that takes a lot of courage to ask, and in your mind you're fearful that you may lose that business or lose that family. But that's all in knowing that God will provide either way. You know what I'm saying? That in putting your faith in God to know that He's gonna, what's for you is for you.
Yes.
And it will definitely come your way if that is what God's plan is for you.
Absolutely. And and that comes with maturity of transitioning from being an entrepreneur to a business owner, because I always say that is a difference. Mm-hmm. A true business owner has to be so confident in their past performance and their future that putting themselves and their team first is how you honor God and His people. My team knows I will do whatever I can to make sure they have everything that they need emotionally, financially, and spiritually to the best of my ability. And they know what I expect when it comes to their performance, with their in their roles. When it comes to how we interact with our community, I let them know, this is my team. We're going to serve you in excellence. I have full confidence in them that they can do that. That only comes when the boundary is set.
Yes.
For me, I don't mind if someone wakes up in the middle of the night and has a question. I don't mind being, taken out of my sleep to be able to have those conversations, because I know how to place myself back in the mode to be able to go to sleep. I don't expect my team members to be up all night answering questions. So I take that from them at night so that they can rest. But those are the boundaries that we've set within our team. And with you being an entrepreneur and now business owner, whomever's working with you, I'm sure you have boundaries that you set for them as well. I've seen you work with your team. You guys are in lockstep. You guys have it down. Have you always been that way, or was there some training components that you've had to do?
I think I've just always been that way. I do like things done a certain way, and I'm always going to put forth my best effort and make sure that people around me do the same. You've got to be reliable, dependable, kind.
Yes.
Courteous. And so all of those things work in step when you're a business owner. And going back to the point to what is for you, what's for you is for you. I think about sometimes when you call on me to do repasts. I've catered some repasts for you, and a few times the family will choose, like just recently, the family had to choose something else. And, as a business owner, you could get upset, or you can know that God's going to provide, and what is for you, right?
Yes.
But I'll look back at the things that I've done, and I know that my work is always good. The food is always excellent. It's prepared and served in excellence. And so I surround my people with that. Chris is my sous chef, and she's courteous, she's dependable, she's reliable, she's kind, and she's quick and savvy.
Yes.
And she works with me, and she does excellent work. So that's one thing when it comes to being an entrepreneur, is surrounding yourself with people who are like-minded, like you, people who are kind and know what your expectations are and can meet those expectations.
Absolutely. I have so enjoyed this conversation because it reminds me of what happens when you operate in your gifts according to God's will. And this is the one thing I love about social media. It allows you to see how people authentically live their lives. And I love when you post the clients that you've had, whether they're, celebrities, non-celebrities, and how they send you on trips to provide meals and cater for them, and how you love your littles, and how you love your daughter, and how you love your family. I am so proud of what seems to be the seamless transition that you've made, and your life. You still have so much life. Like you said, with your grandmother, your mom is 80, your grandmother was 95, your great grandmother and her sister 100, and all of that. You have a full life ahead of you.
I do.
You have a full life ahead of you. And the people that are listening now, they may hear all of the great things I'm saying, and they may say to themselves, but I still have small kids. My spouse doesn't understand what I need. I feel stuck on my job. I don't know how to start the conversation about retirement. I guess I'm just going to stay here. And what I want to do at this moment, I'm going to say a prayer. And then once my prayer concludes, Dalya, I would love for you to speak to the listeners however you feel led to do so, to encourage them that they can live a full life. They can provide themselves with the nourishment that they need to live those full lives, and they can create boundaries so that they can have a fulfilled life moving forward. Is that okay? Well, let's go to God in prayer. God, we thank you for our bodies, our breath, and the wisdom you've given us to care for them. Help us slow down long enough to listen to what we truly need. For the mothers and fathers, caregivers, men and women pouring into others, restore their strength right now. For those entering new seasons of life, give them clarity and peace. Teach us to honor ourselves through nourishment, rest, and intentional living. Bless Dalya and her family and the work of her hands. May every meal, every moment of care, and every act of love continue to heal and sustain others. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I would just close by saying that when it comes to retiring, or when it comes to pivoting, because you don't necessarily have to retire, you can just choose something different. Just know you'll know when it's time. And when it comes to your family and caregiving for our elders, for me, I had to think about, and I've said this over and over again, how independently do you want to live when you get to be your parents' age? And so with that, you have to make good choices. When it comes to food, it's not hard. It's just a decision. that you have to make. And then you can teach the people that you're caring for how to sustain their lives by making good choices. And so that's pretty much it. I think when it comes to entrepreneurship, we all have to think about our future and what that looks like for each individual person who we have in our circle. You know, our family, the people that we're caring for, and those children that are coming up behind us. And what making good choices, exercising is one. Mm-hmm. You have to move. You have to keep moving. And so that's the advice I would give. Keep moving and think about your future. Think about being independent and all of the things that would bring you to that point of living independently.
Awesome. Family, Dalya reminded us today that wellness isn't something we achieve. It's something that we practice. Mm-hmm. In the quiet moments, in the meals we prepare, in the boundaries that we set, and in the care we give ourselves while caring for others. She showed us that living with intention today prepares us for the life we want tomorrow, one filled with health, peace, and presence. If this conversation stirred something in you, let it be an invitation, not to overhaul your life overnight, but to begin choosing yourself in small, meaningful ways. Because the way we nourish ourselves now shapes how we live, love, and thrive in every season ahead. Thank you for taking time with us, Dalya, and I pray for each of you all. And this has been Digging Deep with Dr. Christie K. Thank you so much for listening to Digging Deep with Dr. Christie K. It is my sincere prayer that something you heard today sparked clarity, encouraged your heart, and inspired you to move forward with intention. If this episode impacted you, I encourage you to like, share, and leave a review. Your engagement helps us to continue to grow and create meaningful conversations that matter. Until next time, live well, lead with purpose, and continue to dig